My question about childcare is to the Minister representing the Minister for Education. Will the Minister please outline to the House the new funding arrangements under the Jobs for Family childcare packages and guarantee adequate assistance to support the move to the new childcare funding scheme, particularly for mobile childcare services in rural locations that are currently funded under the budget-based funding programs?
The Minister has the call. Members on my left. The member for Perth will cease interjecting.
Well, I thank the member for her question, and let me say that this is a very important issue. In fact, an issue that has been raised with me by my National Party colleagues and my Liberal Party colleagues who represent those who live in regional and rural Australia. Because the purpose of the government's childcare package is to provide simpler, more affordable, more flexible and more accessible childcare no matter where you live. For families in rural and remote locations, we know that flexibility is vital and understand the important role that mobile childcare services play. Mobile services offer innovative and flexible childcare that is particularly suitable for those in rural locations and also Indigenous communities, Mr Speaker, who may not be able to sustain a full-scale childcare service. Currently, families who use this type of service are not able to access any subsidies. But the government is assisting those families, Mr Speaker. The government is assisting those families. As part of our reforms, mobile childcare services will be eligible for the childcare subsidy, which is great news for rural and remote families. For the first time, families using the service will be eligible to claim the same assistance as families using other types of childcare. The subsidy will be paid directly to childcare providers and the income will be assured, which is great news. And it will also be able to be expanded as the size of the particular service increases. These providers have not previously had this opportunity. Their funding has remained static, and no matter how many children attended the service. And because these services often support families in disadvantaged communities, many mobile services will also be eligible for additional funding through the government's $858 million childcare safety net. We understand the importance of providing childcare to Australian families, and that's why we're investing over $40 billion over the next 4 years in funding. That is some $3 billion in additional funding, which is great news for Australian families. We are delivering affordable, flexible childcare to over 1 million Australian families under this package, Mr Speaker. But I must say Labor has no credibility on childcare. Under Labor, mobile services could not be accessed or could not access the childcare benefit. They could not access the childcare rebate. So families using this service were excluded from assistance, Mr Speaker, and we're fixing that under this package, Mr Speaker. Under Labor, funding for these services was fixed and couldn't grow to meet demand. Well, we're also fixing that problem, Mr Speaker. We are about simpler, more affordable, more flexible and more accessible childcare, and the members opposite should be applauding this very fine policy.